For several years now, the video game America's Army has ranked among the top 10 online games and has attracted more than 9 million players who have participated in more than 380 million virtual missions, from basic training to fighting the war on terrorism. In recent years, America's Army has improved significantly, becoming even more sophisticated and desirable, and expanding its application to console versions for Xbox and Xbox 360. Now, unless one is naive enough to believe that the Army has invested some $8 million to develop and merchandise this very violent video game for the entertainment and education of our young people, it is clear that the military has realized the value and the effectiveness of video games in enticing young men and women to enlist. But hold on, as far-fetched as this may seem, naive or not, that the intent and purpose of these games is to entertain and educate is exactly what the Army would like us to believe. According to Army Chief Marketing Officer Edward Walters, the new $12 million, 14,500 square foot Army Video Arcade, also known as the Army Experience Center, the AEC, at the Franklin Mills Mall in Philadelphia, is not a recruiting station, but a virtual education facility that is, and I quote, a place for the American public to get educated about the Army, and for us to show that the Army is very high-tech and relevant. Major Larry Dillard, the AEC program manager, would like us to believe that playing America's Army and wasting bad guys from the simulated life-size Apache helicopter, the Black Hawk helicopter, the armored Humvee that graced this high-tech facility is recreational, educational, and give young people, and I quote, the opportunity to experience the Army for themselves so that they can have an understanding of what soldiers do and that they can appreciate and be proud of their service. The AEC is conveniently located across from a popular skateboard park in the mall. Teenagers as young as 13, after growing weary of throwing ollies and goofy-footed kick turns, are welcome to drop in and chill out at the AEC. Now, after providing the Army greeters with their contact information, that's active duty recruiters dressed not in uniforms but in polo shirts and khaki trousers, the enthusiasts are welcome to avail themselves free of charge of the helicopter and Humvee simulators and the 79 educational and motivational gaming stations that include 19 brand new Xbox 360 consoles and 60 custom-built high-performance Alienware. Now, I have no idea what any of this is, and probably neither do you, but I'm sure if you would ask your son or daughter, they would gladly fill you in. Now, the AEC website boasts that, and I quote, gamers can play the latest, most popular gaming titles, go head-to-head in tournaments, or just enjoy an afternoon as a virtual soldier, end of quote. Hosts, also recruiters, are available to help, to answer questions, talk of their personal experiences in the military, or just engage in friendly banter with the gamers. Now, for the most part, the teenagers find this overall experience to be awesome and totally cool. For the Army's part, the investment has been money well spent, as the Army Experience Center is able to attract the same number of recruits as 5 traditional recruiting centers in the area surrounding Bensalem, the Philadelphia suburb where the Franklin Mills Mall is located.
Nobody knows anything about the Army unless you work next to a base or you know a soldier. So if they're just curious, they can come in and say, you know, I just want to check it out.
It's very interesting. It has a lot of real life stuff and teaches you a lot, shows you a lot.
We really want to have the American public come in and interact with real soldiers.
Different types of, different categories.
We also want to learn what works and what doesn't work. And at the center of it, our whole marketing strategy is to allow real soldiers to tell their amazing stories on how they've become strengthened and become Army strong.
If the AEC's plethora of video games and simulators are intended to enable young people to get educated about the Army and gain insight into what to expect should they join the military, as a former Marine Corps officer and college professor, I would like to offer the following suggestions regarding a few additional games that would enhance learning and make the experience more authentic. Perhaps the Army should consider adding the stop-loss game, in which players are prevented from leaving the experience center despite having completed their tour of the facility, and instead are forced to play again and again against their will. And how about a PTSD game, in which 4 out of 10 players will relive the game experience for the rest of their lives, or become virtually homeless, or a virtual substance abuser, or commit virtual suicide. Or perhaps the VA maze game would be enlightening, in which players must negotiate endless bureaucratic red tape and indifference as they attempt to receive care for their virtual war injuries. Finally, I think that in addition of a military rape experience, an interactive and violent game in which every 3rd female and every 10th male who plays is sexually assaulted would provide players a more accurate understanding of what lies in store should they decide to enlist in the military.
It's time to change the traditional style of recruiting, and I believe the AEC is that effective tool that is the future. It's the future of Army education. It's the future of Army recruiting.
The Army wants to see more Army Experience Centers open to the public across the nation.
What is clear is that these games profoundly affect the way our children think and see the world, and that the military is utilizing this technology to manipulate our children, first, to view the military positively, second, to encourage them to enlist, and third, to program them to kill. Whatever one's particular point of view regarding military service, to morally object to this influencing of our children is not to be anti-military or even anti-recruitment. Rather, it is to be anti-deception, anti-manipulation, and pro-honesty. A moral society and concerned citizenry should not stand idly by while its children are being manipulated into making choices they may not otherwise have made, choices that will affect them for the rest of their lives. In this new era of transparency, truth in recruiting is not radical, nor is it too much to expect. Rather, it is morally obligatory.
We protest the Army Experience Center because it glamorizes war and entices our young people into militarism.
I was in the military for 29 years. We all up here were in the military. Many of us have had horrible experiences, others not so horrible. But we all demand that from our country that our national